Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Before I'm going to man Paos Cham once again on VOD Voice Out Digital Media. On our usual show we used to have on a weekly basis called State of Affairs, the show that looks at political events that are happening around the Gambia or within the Gambia, bringing out activists and Gambians abroad who would have similar or who have interest in national development issues. And today with me, I have two important guests. One of them, or in fact, both of them would be a face that we all would see every day. And my guests today are Mr. Dudu Ndao from the United Kingdom. I'll bring him up, and also I have Mr. Councillor Honorable Mahmoud Toure from Banjul, Councillor for East Town Ward. Mahmoud? Mahmoud, is that am I right, Councillor? Mahmoud, can you hear me? Anyway, I don't think Mahmoud can hear us, but either way, we will still move on. I will first take this opportunity to introduce or to let them introduce themselves. Mr. Ndao, welcome on board. And if I just give you a couple of minutes to introduce yourself once again.
Thank you very much, Pa. Thank you for the invite. I'm saying hello to everybody or everyone who's listening to or watching us on this platform, VOD. I'm pleased to be back. And obviously, if I remember, I was the first invitee for this panel as well when it was launched. So and I was very grateful for that. So I'm so pleased to be back today to have a chat with obviously yourself and my colleague here in the political arena, Mr. Mahmoud Toure. So first, I would just say thank you. By the way, I am here as a GDC party PRO in the diaspora. So, you know, I hope we have a good session tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Ndao. Mr. Mahmoud, can you hear us? Councillor. Councillor, can you hear us? Mahmoud, can you, Mahmoud, I know there. Mahmoud, can you hear us? Mahmoud, hello. Can you hear us? Hello, Mahmoud. I think Mahmoud is having some network difficulties wherever he is.
Yes, Powers.
Aha, good. Yes. Mahmoud, yes, I was just doing an introduction, and
yes, but Powers, I can hear you.
Yes, if you could please tell the audience who you are, and this is your first time having you here, and we are very grateful for the short invitation. So if you could please introduce yourself to the audience. We are broadcasting live on YouTube and also on Facebook, Facebook Live. Mahmoud, dafa ñuy digaas na dem na de. Honorable, can you hear us? Mahmoud, can you hear us? Oh, program Gambia moy lolo.
Pause.
Boy, yes, can you please introduce
hope
yourself?
You can hear me.
Yes, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, I can hear you, right. I can hear you.
Yeah, can you please introduce yourself?
Pause.
Yeah, Mamu, can you please
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yes, can you please introduce yourself? Tell the people who you are or what you do.
Pause. I can hear you.
Yes, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Pause. Greetings, everyone. My name is Mahmoud. Yeah. Thank you so much, Pause. Thank you. I'm really honored to be. Yeah.
All right, Mahmoud. If you struggle, can you off your video and just go on audio?
Thank you so much, Pause. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are coming good.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello, Pause.
Yes, we can hear you very loud and clear.
Pause.
Wow.
Hello, Pause.
Wow, I can hear you.
Pause. Well, Assalamu alaikum. Good evening to you all. This is Councillor Mahmoud Toure from the Newtown Eastward Banjul. Definitely, I must say that I'm really honored to be part of this platform today. I could say, Pause, this is my first time of being in such a platform since I took into office as a councillor. And I would like to greet also the other colleague down there from UK, who is also with us here today. I'm very much honored and happy to be here. This is Councillor Mahmoud Toure from Newtown Eastward Banjul. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mahmoud. And I hope today we're going to have a very interesting conversation. And we're going to be centering our discussion around the state of affairs in Zambia.
Yes.
And also talking about the daily, well, what is it, what bad or good effect
of course.
in the lives of people. And you as a councillor, what are you doing at your own level, or what is your take on this issue? And Mr. Ndao, I will start with you. Mr. Ndao, I will start with you.
Okay.
Mr. Ndao, recently we've seen the Gambia, the National Assembly, passing a state a motion to declare the country state of emergency as a result of the COVID-19 that is now been declared as a pandemic. and the government of the Gambia deem it fit to close our airspace and borders, and also went further to declare a state of emergency. So, Mr. Ndao, first, what is your take on this thing? Was it really necessary for the Gambia government to declare a state of emergency in the country?
Thank you very much, Pa. That's a very good question. Yes, of course, it is very important, imperative that borders or the state of emergency is declared by the president. And if you remember back to the 18th of, if I remember the 18th of March, the president of the Republic of the Gambia, His Excellency Adama Barrow, made a proclamation talking about the situation of Gambia according to the advice they have from WHO and the health professionals, declared that the Gambia obviously is affected, it's also affected by the pandemic. And that time we had a case that was identified. So part of their strategy is to try to minimize the spread of this COVID-19, which is the coronavirus, which is a world health problem at the moment. It was, yes, important that they had to come back by the 26th, if I remember. The president came back on the 26th and declared, make a proclamation based on the section 34 of the Gambia Constitution, 34, which is in his powers to declare the Gambia as a state of emergency, which was one of the ways to make people stay at home. As you can see, we are going through in the West. That is mainly to contain the spread of the disease within the nation. That is by obviously state of emergency controlling the movement of the people. So obviously with regards to the state of emergency, also while the government, his government obviously working through to be able to work with the health professionals to eradicate this health concern within the country. Yes, I think, it was very necessary that he declared the state of emergency. However, there were some issues in the declaration and obviously, the procession of the declaration and even the longevity of the declaration, which I believe we will come into later. Thank you, Pa.
Okay, and thank you. Mahmoud, are you there? Councillor Mahmoud, can you hear us? Mahmoud, can you hear me? Okay, I think, Mahmoud, can you switch off the video and just be on audio so that you can have a better reception, because I can't hear you. Mahmoud, I'm gonna kick you out and you come in again.
Yes, I'm there, Pa.
Okay. Yeah. We've heard what Mr.
Yes,
Ndao,
I can hear you right, Pa.
Yes, we heard what Mr. Ndao had just summarized, the need and the necessity for the state of emergency to be declared to allow government to take full control.
Yes, I can hear you, Pa. I can hear you.
So now, Mahmoud, since the declaration of this state of emergency, what is the condition? What is the condition of the people like in Banjul or in your area? Okay, better. So, Mahmoud, I know they right now.
Okay.
Is it better?
Hello, Pa.
Is it better now? Yeah. Yeah, Mahmoud, is it better now? Mahmoud, is it better? It's so shame, Gambia, internet basic. Mahmoud, I will kick you out and you come in again. Okay. Mr. Ndao, let me kick Mahmoud out and he comes again. Mr. Ndao,
no, don't kick him out. Just turn it off and let him come again.
Yes, that's what I'm doing now. We just yeah, Mr. Now, thank you for that analysis. You, Mr. Now, but if you look at Section 34 of the Gambia Constitution, it highlighted the need for, or it has given the president the power to declare a state of emergency under specific situations or circumstances that will warrant him to declare or to make this proclamation. But after having only 4 cases, or I would say 4 or 5 cases, was that alone a justification for the Gambia to go on a state of emergency?
Oh yeah, Pa. Even if it was 1 case, I think considering the level and the scope of the problem across the world, I mean, 1 life, 1,000 lives, it's all lives. At the end of the day, it's important for the state or the government to take the necessary steps. And obviously, when something happened like this pandemic, obviously declared by all the world powers, it is important to take some necessary measures, because what you want to do is, we would have been even more grateful. We thank God that we only had 4 cases, but we would have been even more grateful if it was only 1 case. So for the president or for the state to stop the spread, obviously it was necessary to restrict the movement of people, the contact of people, and remember, there are these stages that every country in the world had to follow, at least, the containment of the disease, which is the slowing of the spread of it, and by doing so, there is also this thing about mitigating the circumstance to ensure that people keep distance from each other, as well as while they do study the disease itself, to know how to solve it in a sense to cure people as well. So, and to do all that, obviously you need to have this the phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, and obviously the phase 1, by identifying this disease, you then want to make sure that you stop the spread, because it's a new disease that nobody can cure. Nobody knows so far how to deal with it in terms of medication. So we have to engage the social aspect of it. So, and that to happen, to keep people there, obviously you have to declare a state of emergency, obviously, to keep people behind. So behind closed doors, so that they don't have that contact in public spaces, public gathering, which we call the social distancing now. And in the UK, you have this stay at home, and I think across the world, it's like, it's a cross-cutting issue that everybody stays at home. So the next stage, obviously, is you identify those cases emerging, those who have been infected by the disease. So that's where you get the 1 case, 2 case, 3 case, 4 cases. So all those cases starting to come up, obviously, you don't want it to be more spread out. So by keeping people indoors, you are obviously doing that, which is a great thing. So by also having that stage 2 of identifying these people, then the next thing is you starting to cure them, to bring it down. So at the peak of it is when people start to have their isolation for the first 7 days or 14 days, and then identify that they have got the disease, then we start to treat them. So I think that is all good. Obviously, very, very well handled in that aspect. I think where the problem is, obviously, is the declaration itself did not come with some realistic length of time, as well as support for the people, obviously, to be able to keep them in their houses. Part.
Yeah, but so now, when you first started, you make reference, Mamu dinala being obstacle memo to track. You first make reference to countries and also to the magnitude of this virus. In regards to right now, I'm trying to ascertain a conclusion for the state of emergency specific right now. But when you first started, you mentioned about the need for like you endorse the state of emergency, given the fact that other countries recommend and the amount of lives being lost in other powerful countries. But so now, is it not the case that this state of emergency, this Section 34, is specific to Gambia? It has no link or no relation to what will happen in America or Senegal, for Gambia to be feel threatened and shaken to say, yo, it happened there, let's evoke it. Because the government have not finished or even stage one of their exit or approach in dealing with this COVID-19 situation as far as Gambia is concerned, given the fact that, yes, closing the borders has been in the place, but can we differentiate these two? That was it really the method to be used to keep people indoors or to contain the virus? If given the fact that we have two.
So what was the question there?
The question is, was it really necessary? Was this state of emergency the only method that could keep people indoors? Because after this, we'll come to how effective this is. But let's now try to ascertain whether was this the only option that government could use to keep people in house. Yeah.
Hello, Pa, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now, yes.
Hello, you're hearing me, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. I had a call and it cut off from my phone. Yeah, Pa, I mean, state of emergency is just the way it was worded in the Gambian constitution, and there was no other option that can declare, because that can make this happen in a sense of in an emergency like this, to keep people indoors, because that was the first part. That was the first thing that they could do to spread. In here in the UK, you heard we've got this lockdown, what we call the lockdown, and the lockdown is been declared almost 2 weeks ago by the Prime Minister. In the United States, you have the same situation. So, and these are not things that has been authorized or gone through a process of policy making within the National Assembly before it was proclaimed on the 18th or the 26th. So the head of state is responsible for the safety and security of the citizens. And when emergencies like this happen, you don't have the time to call for National Assembly at that time to come and you come within a week or two or three or day or 2 or 3 to discuss a state of emergency. So that is why the constitution gives the president, or in the case of the UK, the prime minister, to have the powers to declare this whilst they can come out with some other measures. So yes, it is something. It is not there for President Barrow. It is there for any president of the Gambia. If you remember, Yahya Jammeh used it before in his own advantage during the 2016 problem of the election problem during the impasse in 2016. So state of emergency is mainly a declaration, a power given to the head of state to protect the citizen of that particular country for their safety and security. And when we say safety and security, it doesn't only mean security officers arresting or parking or beating or no, it doesn't mean that. Obviously, it's just about keeping them safe. And the first stage to keep people safe with this pandemic is to keep them indoors, keep them at home. So yes, I think it is the only option provided in the constitution at the time, and it was used, and I think it is necessary to use it as well, Pa.
Okay, thank you. I think in due course we will find out.
I can't hear you. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, can you hear me? Hello? Hello, can you hear me? Hello? Zano, can you hear me? Okay, I can hear you now. Well, guys, we apologize for this. It's to do with our IT this is IT. This is what happens. But we really apologize for this technical glitch. I hope my guesses will be on track. They will be here very soon. I really apologize for this thing. Okay, I have Mr. Ndao again. Okay, Mr. Ndao, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah,
now,
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, so now, thank you very much. Well, in the end, we will look at whether, or we'll try to find out the effectiveness of the state of emergency and for what purpose, whether did the government achieved the purpose. I know this might be a very difficult situation for us to come to a conclusion, but but we will see. But anyway, I find it very hard to understand the difference between the two, between a lockdown and a state of emergency. I think a state of emergency, one which gives the legal right, which eradicates or which bend all laws, no human rights laws, no health act laws will work. Everything is for public health interest, and I'll imagine as opposed to lockdown. And so now we have seen people who are going out on their normal duties, and even government is functioning, and private sectors, the private sector also is as active as ever before. So what is the reason? What would have been? Do you think a lockdown would have been an option instead of a state of emergency without any kind of remedy or any kind of provisions? Because we have seen the Minister of Justice who came and tabled an extension to the state of emergency, not even exhausting what they've already been given. The first 7 days, people are complaining. Is that the voice of the people or the will of the government?
Thank you, Pa. I mean, for the first question, obviously the difference between the lockdown and the state of emergency. We are operating two different systems here. Obviously, the Gambia as a presidential system of government, and here you have the parliamentary system of government. However, here they don't have a written constitution, as we have a written constitution, and the constitution of the Gambia provide powers of whatever action need to be taken by the authorities. So here in the UK, obviously, we go through customary laws and the unwritten constitution of the normal judicial processes, legalities. So lockdown, as it says, is just about closing down, restriction movement of people, and it doesn't mean anything apart from controlling or a state of isolation of access or restricting the movement of people. That's all it means. And in the Gambia in particular, it was specifically put into the constitution for the authorities to use, so that it wouldn't be a power of one person. So it will be a power of the leadership. So to me, it's still in the UK, like for example, in the UK, it was the Prime Minister who declared it. And he was the head of the state or head of the government who can declare that, because remember, they are here to administer the affairs of the state. So when we are in this certain situation, somebody has to make a decision. Obviously, the decision has to be discussed among themselves. That is why they have a cabinet. And I'm sure President Barrow has also got a cabinet that they had to discuss this, and he had to be advised by his legal advisors, Minister of Justice or whatever, Attorney General and Chief Justice, and all that people, stakeholders that are involved. But there's no difference. The only thing is here, it's more of a constitutional matter, a legal emphasized in the Gambian constitution, whereas in the UK, the authorities have also got the powers to declare that, because they run the machinery of the state, and obviously the policy has to be enforced by the security officers. That's why you see in the UK today, the police will stop you. If they see you or a group of people working together, they will ask you, where are you going to or what are you doing? If you are not out for essentials, you can be arrested or fined. So these are all things that wouldn't have happened if it was not declared by the state. So I cannot make that decision. You cannot make the decision. Somebody have to make the decision, and that person obviously have to be the person who is the head of the government or head of the state. So particularly in the Gambia, where you have the president mandated by the constitution under this section. So the second question, Pa, I think is more of an administrative issue. The constitution has to make the provision under section 34, which we all agreed to. It's not there for President Barrow, like I said to you earlier. It's there for everybody in the future, as well as before. So where the government fails, obviously, is the administration of this section and declaring it according to this section. If you look at section 34, subsection 2, so it states that the declaration made under this section shall lapse at the expiration of a period of 7 days, or if the National Assembly is not then in session 21 days, beginning on the day on which the proclamation is published in the Gambian Gazette, unless before the expiration of that period. It has been approved by a resolution of the National Assembly, supported by the votes of not less than 2/3 of the members thereof. So that explains that subsection 2 of section 34. After giving the president the power under section 1, the president have the power within 7 days. If the National Assembly within 7 days, which expire up to 7 days after the declaration. So the process about the Gazette and the non-Gazette, that is a different thing, because obviously it's a state of emergency. The president can come out and declare it while they gazette it, and then go to the National Assembly. I had some people saying that obviously it had to be gazetted before. But remember, the National Assembly is involved in the first time after the declaration. It's an emergency. It's not like a day where it's not a thing that the president has proposed. It's an emergency that somebody have to make a decision. So you make a decision and then you gazette through the National Assembly. Then that will last for 7 days if the National Assembly is not then in session. It goes in 21 days. Within that 21 days, they have to come together and review it. But the president have 7 days or 21 days maximum if they are in session. They had an issue, don't get me wrong, they had a big issue by not understanding the difference between the 21 days and the 7 days. That is why they thought just by declaring that it should go as long as it should take. But obviously, no, the National Assembly was in session. They suspended because of this pandemic, and they were to resume upon agreement among themselves. So that is why when they came back, within the 7 days, that midnight, they had to, by that midnight of the 7 days, they had to come up with an extension. That is where you see that discussion, a whole day discussion in the National Assembly about the 90 days and the 45 days pause.
Yeah, but now, do we really have an emergency? We only have cases. I know the emergency would have been under a public health grounds, which the Minister of Health could not even come and ascertain to the House of Parliament that we have a national or we have a public health crisis. We are not yet at that stage. I'm not sure whether if they are not briefing the public or they are not giving the public the right information to come to terms with the decision as to why government would enact Section 34 or not. But as far as we could visibly see, and the local person at the market or the farmer could very see, we at the climax, at the peak of the hill, that yes, we said, look, yes, we were trying to contain, we were trying to act fast, we are trying to be proactive, but was it given the nitty-gritties that comes with and the negative sides that will come with the state of emergency? Was it what did we really have an emergency in the Gambia to warrant this information? And talk less of giving it as taking it as far as 90 days.
Yeah, interesting question, Pa. I mean, Pa, let's put this fact in place, and for the interest of the Gambia and the Gambians and the whole world, obviously, considering the level of this pandemic. Yeah, It is an emergency. Yes, that is a fact. It is something that we need to isolate people. We need to restrain the movement of people. And we need to, if you want to call it lockdown, or you want to call it state of emergency. So we don't have to wait until half the Gambia dies before we can do an action. So that is not responsible leadership. You take steps, make haste while the sun shines. If you compare the UK compared to the United States, they're all developed state nations. And the USA reacted slowly, while the UK reacted faster, because the president of the United States did not take it maybe seriously or was not proactive enough compared to the UK. As much as I disagree with Boris Johnson, I think he has done so well in terms of managing the situation that we are currently in the UK. So if the president of the United States has done that, the problem that we have in the US now wouldn't be, because it was this pandemic was first identified and declared as large in the US more than the UK. So you don't wait until things start to be so much before you take action. So for them to declare state of emergency, by identifying only even one case, it was a necessity. It's something that is needed. So like I said, where the disagreement is the procedure of this declaration, as well as the agreement of how long should we take it. Because yes, I agree with you in now that having 4 cases do not warrant to have a state of emergency for 45 days. I totally agree with that. I think that is too much. Mm-hmm. I would say having 4 cases, even if it's 1 case, you declare it, because it's a world pandemic announced by the WHO, World Health Organization, and all the medical professionals across the world, particularly in the Gambia as well. So it is necessary. But when you start to give 45 days of isolation or 45 days of stay at home, considering you have only 4 cases, the repercussion of that could be you will have some more people who will be not adhering to the laws, or who would not agree with you, and that will delegitimize the powers, and that will not make the policy to be functional. So, because obviously having to stay home for 45 days, I mean, even if it was the 90 days proposed, because of wrong procession that was taken by the executive and the legislative council, the legislature, I think that is totally out of order, and I think, to me, that was not necessary. So if I was in their shoes, or if I were to make the decision in the National Assembly, I would say, okay, we only have 4 cases. We are not as bad as the US or the United States or the UK, United Kingdom, or even Senegal. So what we can do now, we've closed our borders, even though we closed it late, and we know between then and now, it's more than 2 weeks. So that 2 weeks, if there was any cases, would have emerged, and we would have identified it and start to deal with it. Now that there's no emerging cases, after 2 weeks is normally your peak time. So now there is no emergency cases. Obviously, after 4 weeks also, first 1 week of state of emergency declaration. So we have 1 week already gone. So we can extend for another 3 weeks. Another 3 weeks time, we come back here in the National Assembly and review the situation, because we don't have to do a one-size-fits-all situation whereby, because Senegal has done it this way, or we have to do it also this way. It shouldn't be that way. We have to look at the Gambian context. Are you with me? You hearing me, yeah?
Yeah.
So we have to use the Gambian context. So the Gambian context, to me, I would have done it in that way, or proposed to do it that way. So we don't have to, with support, 3 weeks, stay at home, with maximum support to the most needed people. And that also doesn't mean that you want to equalize the executive director to the one canteen seller of food in his region or her region. No, you want to really look at the situation within the country, starting from the poorest people, coming up to the better privileged people path.
So now, yes, you got a point there, and I think those who are listening, they will understand where we're coming from. we are not saying no to the state of emergency, but we are trying to do a critical analysis and then explore options. And I want to ask you this question, Mr. Ndao. Don't you think?
I cannot hear you. I think when somebody called me, I lost you again. Do you want me to just do reboot again so that I can get you? Let me refer.
Can you hear me now?
I cannot hear what you're saying.
Yeah, you have to.
You can hear me, but I can't hear you.
Yeah,
when somebody called, right after them, let's stop.
Okay, come them out and in again. Okay, Nyonga. Hello.
Wow, I'm back now. When someone called it, I got there, stop.
Okay, thank you. So now, the question I wanted to ask was, do you think or might think or even believe that the 70% of the reason why the government passed the state of emergency was because of the pressure they had from people? Because since the day one, people have been on social media, and remember, we have a government that is very attentive to what people are saying at some point and sometimes. Is it the case that the government reacted to the complaints or pressure that people put them on to declare a state of emergency and also to close our airspace? We are trying to watch from what happened in the UK, USA, and Senegal and putting pressure on the government to do. Do you think the government acted in that way?
Well, yeah, we can say that. We can say that there's no evidence of it, but we can say that because remember, this government is also very, very reliant on what the social media says. And obviously, social media is also very important in the affairs of the Gambia because remember, the Gambia has got so much resources across the world. And most of them are not in the Gambia. They are not interested in being in the system, or they don't have the opportunity to be in the system. So they stay outside and they make their comments and complaints and proposals on social media. And if you look at the social media, you will get some brilliant ideas. You see some brilliant people writing some brilliant things. So obviously, even if I was in government, obviously, I would not hesitate to go to social media and see what my people are saying, because it is an informal platform that can be used to understand the order of the day. So yes, I mean, it could be a case of reacting to what they're saying. But remember, this government is very inexperienced. It's a very, inept government. It's a government that do not really know what they're doing, to be honest. I mean, I'm not saying all of them, but even I can tell you that 70% of the borough government are not experienced. They don't have an idea. They don't have a clue of what's going on, to be honest. And particularly those who advise him. So those who were close to him. So yes, it can be a pressure from the social media, but also it is. I'm sure there is one or two or few people in there who are aware, who are acquainted with the process of state of emergency. But I cannot give you a percentage because I don't know. I am not there, obviously. But what I can tell you is that the reaction from social media is always deemed important and necessary for the administration of Gambia state affairs.
Thank you. Well, yes, we can ascertain to verify that fact that social media has put a pressure, but no doubt that that could be part of a discussion, and it's something that we can't rule out. And no, you are from GDC, I guess, right?
No, it's not a matter of guessing. You know.
Okay. Now, does your party support the government's approach or the government's decision to go into state of emergency from day one until now?
Thank you, Pa. I mean, yes, Pa, you know that, like I said to you in the beginning of the conversation, the GDC party is a social democratic party, and it operates as a government in waiting. What we would have done is what we would propose for the interest of the Gambian people. And it is not rocket science to understand that we are in a state of emergency. If the UK can lock down, United States lock down, Senegal lock down, all these countries lock down. So I don't see any reason why we will go against the state of emergency for the Barrow administration. Yeah, yes, we are opposition. We are opposition. But as much as we oppose to the government, we cannot oppose some decisions that goes well with the interest of the Gambians. So, and if you remember, I can tell you that in the Gambia, the GDC party is the political party that lead the proposals and the sensitization of this COVID-19 in the Gambia. Since day one, we are the first, through our National Assembly member, Honorable Omar Sise, who, before the president came out to say about that one case, saying that we should close our borders, first thing, to stop people coming in. People who are already on the way coming, they need to be checked thoroughly. And we even proposed how to do that. So he was the first National Assembly member to go there and make this proposal. So, and obviously we have support from other National Assembly members to back that proposal, which the government eventually reacted on, as they always reactive to people's or whatever we propose. So the other part of it is that the GDC, again, until now, as we speak, just recently, you see us saying that, okay, we are not going to endorse 45 days. As far as the GDC is concerned, 45 days is a lot. And we want to minimize that, considering the amount of cases that we have. But also, one of the most important points in that argument is that people have to be supported. And we came out again with that proposal to say that the government need to organize a stimulus package to support the Gambian people while they stay home.
Mr. Now, I want to get something very clear here. National Assembly members or the opposition parties in the National Assembly member, do they just recommend or do they impose to government to make sure they do, or when you come to us again, you face the repercussion? Which is which?
No, I mean, if you look at the roles and responsibilities of National Assembly, obviously they are representative of the people, and they scrutinize, they confirm policies, they help in they support appointments. So many things that they do, they make laws. When something like this happens,
no. Then if we stand to say we have a government that is much of its employees are incompetent, or we have a government that most people don't know what they are doing, yet we have a National Assembly. We have 58 members, I think, and so are we saying the National Assembly is an accomplice to the incompetency of the government, or they say, oh, you sit down here with your incompetent staff, and we stay here with our competent staff? Is that the case? Because pretty much, if one of the functions as National Assembly is to scrutinize and ensure the checks and balance of government in regards to the activity, policies, and also spending, where is the breach? Where do we have that gap between National Assembly and the government?
I'm sure you've had the separation of powers, and in the Gambia, and every democratic country has got these three arms of government: the legislature, judiciary, and the executive, and they're all responsible to do checks and balance on each other. The Legislative Council, or the National Assembly, is a representative of the people. So I would say it's the most important organ. Not all of them are important, don't get me wrong. But the legislature is one of the most important among them because it represents the people. Each person there is elected to come and represent your constituency. And those constituencies, 58 constituencies, if you put them together, the National Assembly, if you put the 48 constituencies together, you then come up with the country at large. So So obviously, those people, they speak in the interest of the people. They speak for the people. They are there for the people. So really, it is the legislature that clearly defines democracy. So in terms of them proposing something, it's like let me just put it in this way. It's like, Pa, we give you our money as a community, and you are the one in charge of holding the money. But we come and tell you, oh, Pa, in the community account there is £20,000, and we the Northamptonshire or Cambridgeshire family, we want you to take out of that £20,000 and take 2,000 out of it, which is 10% of the money, and buy bags of rice and give it to family ABCD. Because we as a council knows we are representing all the people of Northamptonshire, Cambridgeshire, and we know that those families are in need, and we are here to help to do family cohesion. So obviously we decided as a group. So you have no right to say no. All you can do is implement what we're telling you, because it's our money collectively, but we deem it necessary that we have to support those families, example. So the same thing applies to the legislature. So they make recommendations, they make decisions for the people. The executive are just in control of it. They are in control of the resources, but they cannot do anything without consulting the National Assembly, who confirms or approves. So the National Assembly is very powerful in any country. It's just the Gambia that you have, obviously, most of them are inexperienced. They are newly elected, first time in politics or in government. That is why, in governance, that is why it is even kind of a half and half. But it's a powerful body, and they can also come and propose and say, you know what, we think our people need this. So if the majority of the National Assembly agrees on that, then obviously the executive do not have any choice but to act on it, Pausman.
Okay, let me try Mahmoud Toure, councillor, on the phone and see. He is a councillor, and it will be very interesting if we have Mahmoud. I'm calling you. Okay. Hello, Mahmoud. Yes, you are live on the Facebook. Can we? Nakamboy ni dem. Yes, boy. Mange apologize. I really apologize for this shortfall that we have. Internet the Gambia more lulu. But we are talking about the state of emergency in the Gambia, and you as a councillor. Mr. Now, Yanko Diga?
Yeah, Yanko Diga, yeah.
Okay, so Mahmoud, you are a councillor right now in Banjul. I'm sure you are a councillor for East Town Ward. So we want to know, how is this state of emergency affecting lives and businesses in Banjul? I'm sure you must have had some complaints.
Well, of course, Powers, of course, because like right now we all know how Gambia is. Definitely, looking at the Gambia, 70% of the people within Gambia are really depending wholly and solely from their relatives in the diaspora. And presently, we all know what, especially those in the European countries and the United States are facing. Understand? So it's very challenging down here, definitely. But the council is really working tirelessly in order to, because there was a Banjul Relief Initiative that has been formed by Her Lordship, the Mayor of Banjul, Ajaratullahi Maliv Lo, with regards to at least reaching out to stakeholders, at least to come and rescue the needy people. Because the purpose of this food bank is to store some food items in order, if in case, maybe perhaps if things get worse, then we will be able to tap from those food items in order to help the people that are within Banjul.
Yeah, so thank you. Now that's the beginning. So except for that, do we have businesses in Banjul about to close as a result of these things? about the state of emergency. Do we have businesses in Banjul that are about to close because they've been badly affected by the lack of customers or government's decision to declare a state of emergency? Is it that bad in Banjul?
Well, yeah, actually, if this thing really have to continue, eventually Banjul will be a history in an area of when we talk of business, because eventually, looking at the our campaigns in everywhere that we go, Banjul is being occupied by businessmen, especially, you understand, residents that have been used for stores. And the coming of this COVID-19 will really worsen the situation, because eventually most of these businesses within Banjul have been relocated to the Combos and in extension even in Senegal. So Banjul was kind of, though people used to call it a ghost place, but Banjul is our Banjul, and we will all stand to maybe to see that Banjul has regained its glory. But eventually, people definitely are really frustrated, especially the business sector. And we all know that Banjul, especially Banjul City Council, is really dependent on the licenses and the rates and the duties that we normally collect from the markets. So definitely it's really very frustrating, and we are really expecting and still waiting for the central government at least to come and intervene. And also, we have not seen them yet, but we are still expecting them at least to come on and intervene on these particular issues.
So yeah, thank you. The fact that we know that people are struggling. So what is the council doing about this? What is the council doing to address these worries, the residents of Banjul specific, and also I know businesses will be highly affected, and does the Banjul City Council have the capacity to bail out these businesses, and also what are they doing to the normal ordinary people in Banjul?
Well, actually, presently, Powers, we are really in a dilemma. But nonetheless, we will definitely have to commend the effort of Her Lordship, definitely, and all the councillors within Banjul, and also the CSOs that are within that are the youth organizations, and also the Gambia Red Cross societies for their tireless efforts in order to make sure that things are definitely, you understand, in order. As I rightly says, there was a Banjul relief that was being formed by the Her Lordship. That is to at least go reach to the stakeholders in order to help Banjul with some food items. You understand? And definitely the response is definitely very positive, because food items are coming and people are donating. Definitely we must really thank this diaspora. We must thank the business entities in Banjul. They are doing extremely well. Definitely, and the certain individuals that are coming to donate on this particular initiative. But as of now, this is the only thing that Banjul is doing, and there is a massive sensitization, because I think before anything we started with the sensitization, and after the sensitization we had the councillors and the CSOs. These are the people that have been entrusted to go around, sensitize people. Then we had to buy some sanitizers to distribute it within Banjul, so that people will be able to be, you understand, following the WHO guidelines advice, that is to be frequently washing our hands and all those things. But definitely things are really, going very positive. Definitely, there is progress.
Well, except for you stay at home and social distancing.
Pardon? Pardon?
I said, except for the stay at home and social distancing. Is it working in Banjul? Yeah,
social distancing, you all know, Powers, how Banjul is. Yeah, you all know how Banjul is. You are in Gem Senegal, and Banjul is a problem. But what we always do as representatives and also the people that are within Banjul, because as I said, the Red Cross, the CSO, they are doing extremely well. Definitely with regards to this issue. And when we always go, we sensitize people. The only problem we have, I could say, is like, per se, is the children. You understand? And we always urge the parents at least to try and keep their children, you understand, indoors, definitely. Because you cannot be staying inside and saying that, okay, as an elder, I'm going to protect myself. But at the end of the day, what happens to the children that are within playing? Yeah. Because whenever they are there, people always go out, talk to them and all those things. But we are also urging the parents to try and be controlling their children. Definitely is kind of a problem though on that area. But apart from that, people are really adhering to the procedure, and the sensitization that is being done by the CSO is really effective in Banjul. Definitely.
Thank you, and we are very proud of this thing you said here at the small capital city of Banjul. Ma'am, one last question: is it true that all councillors are giving money from the council?
Is it true
that all councillors are giving money to fight the COVID-19 or to supplement their efforts in their respective wards?
Yeah, last week we are giving each with $20,000. That is to supplement. But I could remember it is only one council. I understand. Maybe perhaps I don't know actually. But we are giving each $20,000 is in order to supplement our efforts that we are presently on. Definitely, and we must again commend the council for that. Definitely, yeah.
So we can assume or conclude that the city of Banjul we don't have any issue, or we're not expecting any form of hardship in terms of food, because of we have the Banjul Relief Fund coming up, and we also have each councillor 20,000. God knows how they're gonna spend theirs on. So are we expecting any kind of crying from Banjulians within the next couple of months? Well, for the short term?
Well, Paus, you know yourself that $20,000 you cannot even feed a home, much more to take care of a whole ward. You understand? And looking at the whole issue, the last week we had a meeting at the mayor's office. You understand? She was trying to express herself, telling us how hard this is, and it was really very painful when we hear from her how much personally she has spent on this COVID-19 case since it started. And we councillors have been, if you can follow the social medias, you understand, councillors personally have been, they have not even waited for council to come in. You understand? Most of, eventually, all the councillors have, you understand, but they have started this sensitization, buying things to make sure that, the COVID-19 has been eradicated. You understand? Even since then, before the council came. You understand? And looking at our budgets, if you could go around to all the councillors and all those things, if you ask them, even before the 20,000 came, most of them had even spent up to $40,000 to $50,000 before that. You understand? And all those things has, when they are doing it, they didn't wait for council to give it to them. You understand? They work with their ward development committees in order to try to see how we are to tap funds in order to do all those things. Yeah, you understand? So $20,000 is really appreciated, but definitely, like, we still need support from central government. Definitely.
But Mahmoud, if we have councillors spending up to $20,000-$30,000, you guys must be rich or having a big salary.
No, this is not having the issue of having a big salaries and all those things. Let's not forget that a council is councillor and the ward development committee. They are mandated by the act to go out in order to lobby or tap resources anywhere they can in order to help their people.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So how they get it, where they get it, and when they get it, definitely is a problem. But I mean, at least we have been sacrificing for our people, because looking at the vibrant young councillors that we have within, you understand, Banjul, most of them, you understand, we have been elected based on the what they have been doing for their people in their communities.
So,
you understand? Because most of us here are volunteers. We have been working in the youth work, rendering voluntary service to the communities.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
And most of us, we are good lobbying. You understand?
Yeah.
So what is most important thing here is accountability and transparency, and that's exactly we always do with our work development committees.
So, Mahmoud, the second two questions. Is there any plan on the pipeline for the 9 councillors of Banjul to come together and for the first time, perhaps, to address these coming problems we are foreseeing for Banjul, because it will come. We have Ramadan coming in, and then God knows the extension of this state of emergency, how it's going to impact, and the border closure. Is there, this might not be a one-man show. Is there any plan on the pipeline for all the 9 councillors, irrespective of their parties and differences, to come together and salvage the people of Banjul?
Well, I think, Powers, you have not been following the mayor's statements. You understand? Councillors are doing extremely well in a sense, because the Banjul Relief Committee was set up. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
We cannot be double playing the role of the Banjul Relief Committee. You understand? We councillors are doing what we can at our own level. Because if you could look, yesterday, I personally, with my World Development Committee, we come up with the donation of 30 bags of 25 kilos rice.
Yeah,
you understand? And it was handed over to the Banjul Relief Committee. So that automatically shows you that, you understand, this is one Banjul, this is one council, and this is a united council that is out and ready to fight this COVID-19. Definitely. So with regards to councillors coming up here and there, we are doing our part, but we have to allow the Banjul Relief Organizing Committee to take over and take care of things.
So
when, as far as this food this thing is concerned.
So Banjul will be fine. Is that the conclusion? Can we conclude by saying that Banjul will be fine?
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me? Mahmoud, can we conclude by saying that Banjul...
No, we cannot. No, we cannot assure you that. We are still waiting for President Adama Barrow. He seems he is a Banjulian, to give us his 2-month salary, so that we will be able to at least buy more rice and all those things. And also, we have more Banjulians. We have more Banjulians that are within Banjul. You understand? That we really, you understand, waiting for them at least to contribute their own quota. You understand? So we still need more, definitely. We still need more.
So what do you have to say, your final words to the people? Any appeal for sponsors, for support, anything?
Pardon?
What do you have to say, your final words? What do you have to say? What do you have to say to the people? Appeal to the people of Banjul and advice to the people who are listening, any kind of support that you would need to Banjul for this relief fund as far as is concerned, because we are broadcasting on YouTube and we are also broadcasting on Facebook Live. We have about 25,000 viewers on our YouTube and Facebook channel. So who knows? Bill Gates might be watching.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I would first of all like to start with our National Assembly members down there at the Assembly to try and see how best they may be able to help the people. Definitely. Fine, they are doing extremely well. It was proposed that we should have a state of emergency for 90 days. But, I mean, the state of emergency can happen. But, I mean, what are the things that are put in place in order to assist the needy people, especially? You understand? So at least we should try and put ourselves in the shoes of the needy people, so that we may able to see how best they may able to help them. You understand? So social distancing and people to stay at home is the best method in order to kill this COVID-19. But at least they should come up with how best they may able to help since the municipalities have already started doing their own bit, at least they should come up, because they have not said anything with regards to how best they may able to help the needy people. And we are also calling on the people in the diaspora, in the whole world, especially those that are Banjulians in the diaspora. This is the time Banjul needs them. This is the time that Banjul is really in need of, you understand, assistance in order to help the inhabitants of Banjul, especially the needy people. So we are calling on everybody to help either in kind. As the mayor said, we need kind, especially, you understand? We need kind, especially, you understand? Anybody who can help us in kind so that we may able to help these people, you understand, when the need arises. So definitely, let us follow the WHO procedures and the advices of the WHO, so that we may able to stay safe, so that we will able to eradicate, get rid of this COVID-19 that is really affecting our economy, that is affecting all the sectors within the country. Thank you so much, Powers. I'm so happy to be part of this platform. Definitely.
Thank you, Mahmoud, and World Count Express. How happy I am to have you today. I would have loved to have you on a full program, but because of the network in Gambia is so bad, and
yeah, I know.
and you're the MC Bena. If you figure out a time when the internet would be very good, I'm sure right now with this lockdown, people at home, the bandwidth is so flooded with people trying to use together. But if you are ready at any time, the Voice Out Digital Media is always ready to support and to serve and to expose. I know you are doing something. You, like you said, initially I've seen you and doing bins, and I've also seen you doing the monthly cleaning exercise that you do at your work. And I know you from, well, knowing you from Friend Award Scheme as a selflessness service giver, I wouldn't be surprised if you become a counselor, what you will do without asking nothing in return. But I really appreciate your coming here, and then thank you very much. And then we wish you all the best of luck. And I hope because right now we all had you, and they are calling for all Banjulian businesses and companies. Let us celebrate and safeguard the city of Banjul, not only Banjul, but even the Gambia. But today's program and him is asking so if you are watching and listening wherever you are and you can support, there is a Banjul Relief Fund or relief committee set up to look at these things, and they want to feed, is it 3,700 homes in Banjul? So you can contact the Banjul Council or ourselves, we can direct you on that. Mahmoud, thank you very much. Mr. Now. Yes, now can you hear me?
Yeah,
yeah, sorry, that was listener, that was Honorable Councillor Easttown Ward Mahmoud Toure from Banjul. I'm there as a guest, but I had to call. We apologize for that method of interview, which was not planned, but nevertheless, it works. So now, yes, we've had what happened in Banjul and the impact of the state of emergency, and Banjul being a capital city. Well, capital city, aka meant to be a business center, just like Serekunda. We can see the impact of state of emergency without relief packages, and now they have taken upon themselves as a responsible council to take the initiative, which is a kudos to them. But I hope the MPs would have considered before even open that book to see this bill or this motion should have come with a relief package side by side, and we'll look and compare if it matches and it's true, because these sort of emergency situations are the unusual situations. Would you not conclude with that with me that they could have also proposed or tabled a relief package bill that would support or go hand in hand with the state of emergency bill?
Thank you very much, Pa. Thank you. Yes, at the time of the declaration of the state of emergency, the president obviously did not declare or did not say any proposal or anything in his mind about stimulus package for the people of the Gambia, not only Banjul in particular. However, after the second sitting, you remember when they went to the National Assembly last week, 26th or 27th, the Minister of Finance was talking about the amount of households in the Gambia and giving 70% or 30% of the people, or 70% or 30%, 30%, 70, 30%, something like that. And I think how much it will cost in terms of millions of dollars. So they are thinking about the stimulus packages. However, based on that, he said the money is there. There's 512 million. They have disbursed 12 million. There is still 500 million. And this 500 million is going to be used to combat the COVID-19. And combating the COVID-19 involves not only the administrative part of government, but also the supporting of the people. And that is the part they are leaving behind more. And I mentioned, and I even posted last few days ago, that the government of the Gambia focuses more on the infrastructural developments of the health centers and items needed for the COVID-19, only for 4 cases so far, and forgetting the 1.5 million people that are hungry in the Gambia. Because I can tell you that 70% of the Gambian people live on hand-to-mouth a day. So keeping them indoors, obviously, is not helping the situation, and spending millions of pounds to try to develop a healthcare system that had failed for 54 years, it's not a very good idea. So I think at this moment in time, people need to stay home, but they also need to feed themselves. They need to have the psychological stability in their minds that they don't have to go out to find money to feed their families. And if you don't give it to them, they will go and find it by force. And if you want to arrest them, you're going to arrest the whole of Gambia and put them in jail. And you cannot put all of the Gambia or all of Banjul in one prison. So that's going to be then out of hand for the security forces. So that is why it's important that they should have come out and say, you know, we got this money and we got this amount of household. It is difficult, obviously, for them because of the, in terms of the data record system in the Gambia, you don't even know how many households are specifically in Serekunda, KMC, or BCC, because some compounds are not even registered, because some compounds don't even pay their annual taxes. So obviously they are not in the books. They are not. The same thing happens to West Coast or CRR and URR kind of. So, but basically what I'm trying to say here, and also the businesses, the business administration system is very poor. As you know, that many businesses are not registered. They are kind of ghost. They are not in the books. So it's very hard to give them money or support them, because you don't know who is who. You can give somebody something in Banjul and he or she can go and claim maybe in Serekunda. So because and say I'm a businessman. So all these things are things that the system needs to be strong. And in this way, in this situation we are in, it's very tight space of time to kind of get all this right before we can get the money to these people, because we haven't got time and they need to eat every day. So obviously, then what you then think about is how to get this money quickly to them. So here then is where it is crucial for the Gambia government, particularly the Ministry of Finance and the stakeholders involved in this decision making, which is the committee. Obviously, with the informing the president that, you know, at the ward level, as Mr. Job, Mr. Mahmoud Toure has said, Councillor Toure, this is where they need to take advantage and use these councillors. It shouldn't be Banjul City Council giving them 20,000 to sanitize their ward. It's good. There's nothing wrong with that. They will go and buy buckets and sanitizers. But, you know, God knows where they're going to get water, because half the time they don't have water. They will have buckets, lots of buckets, but no water across the Gambia. So obviously then that defeats the subject. So that is again something that the government need to learn from and make it as a matter of urgency to make sure that going future, or even if they have to hire tankers to bring water and supply daily into different communities, they need to do that, because half the time there is the pumps are closed. So that's one thing. But giving them the 20,000 to sensitize is a perfect thing. It's good. And whether it comes from the municipality or it comes from central government, I think that's one thing that is great for the ward to engage in. But the second thing is the central government should also engage this ward through the local government, this ward councillors, because they know who live in their ward. They know who are the householders. They know who have children. They know who have one child and who have 10 children. So they know what who deserves what. So if you ask, for example, Mr. Toure, Councillor Toure, that in your ward, how many households are there? Because in Gambia, remember, in one compound, you can have 5 families in one compound. 5 families of maybe 5 in one compound. You have 5 different blocks in one compound. So it is only the ward councillor who can help you with this. And remember, the ward councillor is a responsible individual, the closest to the people, the most localist person in the administrative of the state. So you then trust in him through the mayor and give them enough money to go and distribute to these people that will last them. That will last them. And that ward councillor will also ensure that I'm not going to do this but through favoritism. I'm not going to side people and leave the other people. He knows the poorest within the community. He knows the richest in the community. If I have some cars and some businesses and have a lot of money, my children are in Europe, you know, you cannot give me $3,000 and a bag of rice compared to somebody who have no source of earning, no family to support him or her. So obviously the ward councillor will know that because there's no data system. If there was a data system, then we could have used the data system, but there's no data system. So obviously these are the people you can use as a central government through the mayor to distribute those funds. And then you can stand in front of the Gambians and say, you know what, Gambians, the 500 million, 100 million of it, we've distributed to the poorest Gambians, 30%, even if it's 30% poorest Gambians who live on $5,000, who are in the system and knowing very well that they have to go out. Even some of them, even their earned salary is 5,000, is not enough for them to stay indoors because they still have to go outside and do what they call this rubber thing. Go and find a family member or a friend to get some money from. So obviously, starting from the poorest, coming down to the more privileged people through this VDC. But also, I think the government of the Gambia, obviously, as much as they want to develop the healthcare system, they need to consider that we have only 4 cases. And I'm not saying that, obviously, as I said in the beginning of the program, it's not to justify in any form that one life is not important. But obviously, there are more things that they can do to help the mass majority who are currently experiencing difficulties in the country, instead of trying to spend millions of that, 400 million of that, or 500 million of that money to build centers for COVID-19 when you have only 4 cases. So even if it is 3 good world-class centers across the country, from Banjul to West Coast to another place, I mean, that's fine. World-class, good professionals, check the borders, put border post people like health professionals in the borders to keep controlling the people coming in, even if the borders are open after 3 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever. So until about 3 months' time, when we know that all these people coming in the Gambia are COVID-free, COVID-19 free, and we have centers there to make sure that anybody that they identify for the sickness will be taken to a good hospital where he or she can be cured.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. I think it all. What the confusion is here, the government did not come with a plan and or a bill or an approach, or if I should say a COVID-19 bill like we have here in the UK, that would have specified. And in my earlier opening statement, I did stress about the lack of approach and format in how the government is responding to this campaign. We are only hearing briefings on a daily basis by the Minister of Health, and we are not hearing what the Finance Minister also is saying from his own part. But again, given these hard times with this state of emergency again, will it give room for government to do things that will be unnoticed? Now, can you hear me?
I lost you, Pa. What did you say again there?
Given these current times where we are living on a state of emergency, is there any possibility that the government might try to, or some personnel within the government might try to jump the gun and do things that will be unnoticed?
when you say jump the gun and do things that will be unnoticed, what do you mean? Administratively or
Well,
what?
remember, state of emergency, nothing of scrutiny and checks and balance would effectively be applied on the government, because they are live at their own free will to just act on behalf of the public to eliminate or to delay a situation or a crisis. In this case, the COVID-19. And we have seen some rumors which the Minister of Health declined, that they are not true, allowances and kind of corrupt activities. It is not the time that those things would likely be happen by using the COVID-19 as a scapegoat.
Yeah, I mean, wherever you go, you see good people and bad people. And I think, obviously, whatever also we do in anything, administration, in governance, in public service, we always need to think that we are all here for a time, and we're all going to die, and we believe that we are Muslims. And we have to have faith in ourselves. We have to, obviously, be very responsible, because if you tell anybody that you are not a good Muslim, he or she will be very upset. But yet, he or she will be making acts or doing some acts which a good Muslim should not do. So we should always remember that. And when you take advantage of people's money or people's belongings, obviously for your power or for your own greed, I mean, sooner or later, you always face the music and dance. So for that reason, I believe in this situation, the central government, whatever they're doing, like those people in the Ministry of Health who has been reprimanded for trying to make some money for themselves in this difficult time, the central government has a lot to do. Because the reason why those people are the way they are, they're doing what they're doing, is because maybe what they earn is not enough, or maybe they're just greed, or they're just not following their SOP standard of operation practices, and all these things. And there should be a process to deal with all that. We have the PMO, we have the HR system, all these things to deal with those things. But at this moment in time, what is important is to make sure we contain the spread of this disease in the Gambia, to have good health facilities whereby anybody identified, you have the MRC there, and you have some other couple of ones that you can establish by the government to make sure that it will assure the Gambian people that if there is any case of COVID-19, these people can be cured, and that will give them their mental, psychological stability. And the third thing is to find some money from the government's coffers to give to these people who are poor, starting from the poorest. And when I say from the poorest, I mean from the farmer at the top of, URR or CRR or WCR. I mean, before even talking about, the rich people in the Banjul, Kombo and Mary area. So because these people, if you're asking them to stay home, and they have to they have to feed themselves every day. So obviously, without anything, that is defeating the subject. So in terms of all this thing coming together, somebody trying to make some money from this advantage. So obviously, that is again maladministration, and the central government, people of the government, should take every effort to ensure they scrutinize everything. Obviously, in this situation, we have to cut the red tape. We have to cut the red tape in the sense that we cannot go through the normal bureaucracies to disburse some funds, because can you imagine, we are already 2 weeks into this lockdown for the Gambia, state of emergency. And how many families in the Gambia, poor families, have received a bag of rice? Even the minister was saying a bag of rice with $1,000. Can a bag of rice with $1,000 feed someone for 45 days? It can't. So even if it is 2 weeks, but how many of them have received it yet? So this is why I'm saying, I mean, not even talking about the political point that we'll give to them, if they really know what they were doing, obviously, because giving all these families some money from the government coffers, no matter what, half of the Gambians will think that it is President Barrow who gave it to them from his own money. So that would have helped them. But obviously, they don't understand the way things work. Obviously, they don't understand both political and administrative part of governance. So that is why it is such a challenge. However, all I'm saying is that they should put first things first and be realistic and make sure that they put people's lives first before anything.
Yeah, but listen now, do we for once sit down and think about the implications? Let me play here the devil's advocate. I'm not saying people should stay at home starving, empty stomach. Of course, a government should provide means, right? But do we, for once, think about the after effect, wherever this money is coming from? If we increase tax or increase petrol, people start crying again. And these are where these monies are going to repay them are coming from, taxation. GRA will have to increase tax to pay for that. That means a bag of onions will cost it. That means petrol, taxi fare will be increased. If these things happen, do we also consider what we are trying to get at?
Well, at the end of the day, the government have to take responsibilities and evaluate what is important and what is not important. As much as it goes down to the level of household, it should also go up to the level of the central government. So right now, what is important is how to save lives. That is what is important. And how to save lives, the strategies we are trying to use here across the world, arguably is stay home and keep safe. So obviously, in a country like Gambia, you tell people stay home and they have nothing to depend on. So they will not stay home. Whatever the case is, they will go out. So to make that stay home effective, you need to take out from your funds and support them and say, stay home. I'm giving you this to stay home. So now the government have to be very strategic in terms of how they're going to get funds to do that and to ensure that after this COVID-19, obviously we will face economic impact. And as you have already said, the Minister of Finance saying that it is going down to almost 3 point, that 6% increase they announced a few months ago is going down to 3%. And we're going to find the worst economic crisis in the world after this COVID-19, if not even, compared to the 2018 recession. So we're going to find ourselves in that economic crisis. So no matter what country you are. But what they need is to ensure that they cut costs. Because when you are in situations like this, you have to cut costs. Because people are not going to work. The central government is not spending as much as they used to spend. So there was a budget made on different institutions or different ministries in the Gambia, for the whole year. So now they are going to be about 2 months or two months of not going to work. So all that budgets can be cut, decisively into different pots and give to these people, because they're not going to spend all that. They're not going to need all that. Ministers, we used to give them, for example, petrol of $40,000 a month. Maybe give them 30, take 10,000 from each minister. Example, because they're not going to travel to work every day now. So all these things, they're not traveling to the West. So at different levels, you can cut the expenses, the budget. And I heard you at some time talking about the contingency fund. There should be a contingency fund in the Gambia Constitution. There is a contingency fund. And if you go to the Public Finance Act, there is provision for it. And they also have that fund for emergencies like this. And also this 500 million that we have as a grant from the other countries, plus the $10 million. So we got money in there. It's about putting the money in the right place, in the right time, and to the right people. That's the thing. By the right people. That's the thing. Because if you keep putting money in the right place, meaning the right people who need it most, by identifying who needs it most, the right amount you give to them, given by the right amount of people as well, because you don't want to get somebody who always, if you give 5,000, they will give 4 and keep 1,000. You don't want to be giving people like that. So, and I'm not saying that any of them has done it yet. So far, we've got these people from the Ministry of Health who have this issue of corruption, basically, and the minister said they've been reprimanded. However, I am saying that we need to think about the poor Gambians who need support. And GDC party has been in the forefront of this through our National Assembly member, Omar Sise, as you have seen on social media, and Honorable MC Cham in Banjul going, to talking and holding the government on neck all the time. So we are doing everything that we can. Obviously, we don't have the powers, but hopefully one day we will come into power and people will see what we're trying to say. But, this is not about politics, but all I'm saying is that everybody knows that this administration, are not in a good place to run the affairs of our state path.
Well, maybe at some point we will have a program where we will assess the competency of the government as to how they handle the state of affairs of this nation. And in that, I would love to have you again. But I know we have passed the 1.5 hour that I promised, but things happen. Commissioner, now on a final note, to conclude, I know we've talked about a very important point here for government to cut spending. That will reduce the amount that we're going to pay back, and that will not affect the poor person. And again, identifying the most needy person, like the farmer up there and the petty market trader up there as well. And these are all challenging processes that will take place, I'm sure, because we have started seeing some grants. But again, we are on the watch, and we will always say it as it is. And we hope that people who are responsible with these funds will be very smart enough to do the right thing for once. And we the earlier we get on this COVID-19, I think the better for the poor person anyway. But on a final note, Mr. Ndao, what would you, in fact, one more question. What has the GDC diaspora been doing to support the Gambians on the ground? Anything or anything that the GDC diaspora is doing?
Well, remember the GDC diaspora, we only have two functions here. We support them on policies and programs, and we also support them financially, as you know. And I'm sure you have seen what the party has done from the inception of these issues, by donating buckets, giving people donations, money, disasters that's happening, so you name it. I'm sure you've seen that, a lot of them, but if you don't, I can send you videos of it. So the GDC diaspora obviously has done a lot in terms of supporting the party in Gambia, as we always do. So that is, like I said, we only have those two functions. That is to support them on policies and programs of what the Gambian people need, because the expertise that we have, or the experience we have in the West, we're trying to lift the Gambia up. I know it's a bit hard, but we're trying to lift the Gambia up from the sinking hole that it is in at the moment, up to the level, if not to the level of the West, obviously, but at least working towards achieving the Western level, which is obviously freedom, good health system, good education, just the normal basic needs of people. I mean, before even talking about the wants of the people. As you know, the Gambia is even struggling with just the needs, not even talking about the wants yet. So I'm sure how we support our people through the party, obviously, in the Gambia, under the leadership of Honorable Kande, who you've seen on social media on many occasions since the beginning of this. We support them through the policies, obviously, the accountability part to the government, and many other things that we do. So yes, I'm very proud of the GDC diaspora, and obviously we cannot wait to have you on board, so to join us.
We'll see. But anyway, so now any final last words to the people and to the government and to the GDC party?
Well, I would just first of all thank all the audience and the the listeners for this program, and just to thank you as well for giving me the privilege, inviting me for this session. Apologizing obviously for the time delay because of the Banjul difference and here.
Yes.
So
yes.
And obviously it coincided with Maghrib prayers as well.
Yeah.
But on another note is that I just want to encourage the GDC to continue to run the government from the outside, as they do, voluntarily for the Gambian people. So with our leadership and obviously the executive committee that we have in the Gambia with all the GDC supporters, and encouraging also everybody across the world, all the Gambians, to try to reach out or try to spend some time just to understand the position of GDC in the Gambia and what we mean and what we stand for to help the people of the Gambia from one level to another all the time, better level. And finally, I would also just say the government of the Gambia, they need to engage other people, other stakeholders, because oppositions, when in situations like this, you cannot look at them as adversaries, but partners for development. Because even without emergencies, they are partners in development, but that is very hard to take on in African politics. However, in situations like this, you need to engage them, because you can see, you know, what anything that one can do, two can do it better. So if the whole Gambia come up, all the experts and the resources that people have come together to help our people to come out from this difficult time, obviously it is something that is expected for the government to take the lead in them. And you cannot run a state in situations like this from your from the inside. The president needs to be coming out as more often, and his ministers should be out to the people. And this is the time that we need assurance. This is the time we need encouragement. And this is the time we need also support from the little resources that we have from the state, and not to apply it as one size fit all purposes. It should be done decisively to meet the needs of all Gambians. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandao. I think we have had what Mr. Sandao said. He is the GDC Diaspora PRO and my favorite guest all the time. On a short notice, he will appear, and we always say it as it is without being partisan. Though of course legally GDC won't, but I think I will have to make a special invitation for GDC again, because I did once, and it's surprising that only GDC people do accept my invitation. I invited UDP, they declined. I invited, I think, APRC once. I'm yet to hear from, I think, Lamin Tamba. I want him on board, but last time I think I changed the time. So I will try again. I will try and bring again next APRC. I want to bring all parties, and then we have a platform. And I also try to bring all these 7 political parties, and we have a debate. I'm trying to organize that, a very peaceful and respectful debate I want to organize for all these 7 political parties. But I think on that day, there will be no winner or loser. But I'm hoping to get that very soon. I want to bring all 7 parties in the Gambia, or 6. I think I want to bring 6 parties in the Gambia for a national debate on national, or discussion on national issues, and then we see, not well. If you think you are the best, prove yourself. Convince the Gambians that that's all it takes to win an election. That's all you want to know. Prove yourself that you have the best programs. Prove yourself that you are better than any other party. This is what I'm looking for, and this is what I want. I try it, but you're successful. But I'll try again. I'll call people.
Yeah. No, absolutely, Pa. That is. I mean, I also just want to say that obviously the job you guys are doing as a medium is very important in the development, particularly the online medias, social media. It's important. It's very needed, very much needed for the development of our country, because we have so much resources, like I always say, and expertise, and every little idea helps, because Gambia needs help in every aspect. So as for me, I mean, I spend almost 5 days of the week on different platforms. As you know, every Monday and Wednesday or Friday, I am on Diasporium Radio with Babu Abdoulaye Diop, almost from 10 o'clock p.m. till almost around 2 a.m. So that is on Tuesdays. I'm mostly with Ben Suare, and sometimes even the Fridays when I alternate. Instead of going to Diasporium, I go to Ben, depending on how long in distance I've not been there. So Freedom Radio, as you can see, Thursdays and Sundays, I do go in and make my contribution. So in terms of media friendly, I'm always available for the media, because I believe that it's no point me trying to do what I want to do for Gambia and keeping it in my home with my family. Although I have to thank my family for giving me the time, especially my wife, obviously, for giving me the opportunity all the time to come to the platforms, because it's a quality time of the family that I'm using for the Gambia. But I hope one day, or even if I'm not alive, the Gambian people will remember me for whatever me and my people, particularly my party, have or want to do for the Gambia.
Thank you very much, Sandao, and we also will send our apologies to the family for taking the time. And we also,
okay.
we also will want to thank our people who were watching through the YouTube channel, because, like I said, we are one of the only media platforms that do not ask for sponsorship. But if we have it, we will run from our pockets and we will run with our time. But if people want to advertise in our platform, we are highly welcome. And we have 28, I think, out of all the media houses in the Gambia, we have more than, apart from this Kerfatu and I think Fatu network, we are the biggest. We have the biggest followers. We have about 29,000 followers on Facebook and also on the YouTube channel. We are right now broadcasting simultaneously on YouTube and on Facebook right now. So we are part of a very professional group of young ladies behind the scene doing all these things you are seeing, and the all experts and professionals in what they are doing. So we will come to you. We will always make the first approach, and I will, like I said, I will approach again APRC. I will approach all political parties and see if they're willing to put our differences aside and come here on a platform, and we can have a 3-hour conversation, not a debate, not a push and pull, but a conversation among ourselves in how to salvage the Gambia. This is my intention, and I will start working on that. But on that note, thank you very much, Mr. Ndao, for coming.
Thank you, Pa. Thank you.
Thank you.